Today I pose the question, how deeply rooted was Ganondorf's evil? Was he merely an ambitious king of thieves, or was he truly a malevolent force? As you play this game, you realize just how far Ganondorf was willing to go to achieve world domination. So with that, I will break down Ganondorf's actions to define just how truly evil he was in Ocarina of Time. Spoilers ahead for Ocarina of Time. If you haven't played this game yet, what are you doing? Ganondorf's evil stands upon 3 pillars of evil. Pillar number 1, the evil of premeditated treason against Hyrule and its people. Ganondorf's earliest crimes demonstrate premeditated treason and calculated sabotage. He didn't start with a surprise attack. He started with lies upon lies, patiently weakening the kingdom's foundations and poisoning its inhabitants. We start with an internal betrayal. Ganondorf was granted access to Hyrule Castle because he swore allegiance to the King of Hyrule, according to Princess Zelda. But Princess Zelda immediately dismisses this, saying that I am sure he is not sincere, claiming that he is just after the Triforce. Now, coming from a 10-year-old girl, it's a classic case of he said, she said. However, his actions later on in the game would come to reveal that she was indeed correct. Because even before this moment at the castle, Ganondorf commits ecocide against 3 domains. Number 1, against the forest. The Great Deku Tree confirmed that a wicked man of the desert cursed him to try and seize the Kokiri's emerald. And even with the power of the Great Deku Tree, the curse ended up being fatal, killing the Great Deku Tree of the Kokiri forest very early on in the game. And for the Gorons, he committed systematic starvation against the Gorons. He literally stopped their food supply and ordered Darunia to give him the Goron's ruby. And upon Darunia's resistance, Ganondorf just leaves, leaving the Gorons to starve. Now, the Gorons eat rocks, but they had grown accustomed to the rocks within Dodongo's cavern. And so stopping the supply from Dodongo's cavern was essentially starving the Gorons, even though they could have eaten other rock. You can see the toll that it takes on the Gorons when you talk to them. Next, Ganondorf moves on to attacking the water source. In an attempt to claim the Zora Sapphire, Ganondorf intentionally infects Lord Jabu Jabu with the parasite Baronade, making Lord Jabu Jabu sick. Now, Ganondorf knows that Ruto regularly feeds Lord Jabu Jabu, and he patiently waits for Lord Jabu Jabu to inhale his food and also Princess Ruto. And once this happens, he handcrafts a message as if he was writing as a 10-year-old fish girl thing, puts it in a bottle, and drops it off in Lake Hylia, waiting for someone to obtain this and for the Zora to then chase in after her, hopefully eliminating more resistance to his quest for the spiritual stones. All of these things were premeditated to eliminate any contestants that might resist his power grab. And with all of these things in place, Ganondorf finally commits treason directly against the king and the people of Hyrule and attacks Hyrule Castle. Upon finding one of the soldiers of Hyrule lying on the ground in the back alleyway, he confirms that the ultimate betrayal is indeed from Ganondorf, the Gerudo King of Thieves. So pillar number 1 is evil of premeditated treason and murder. And speaking of the murder, let's go through the counts of who was and potentially eliminated by the King of Thieves. First, the Great Deku Tree is our first on-screen notable death due to the curse that Ganondorf placed upon him. Next, the Hyrule guards that resisted. We have evidence of one in the back alleyway that tells you of what has occurred, and he passes in front of your eyes. Kind of traumatizing. Presumably, you would assume that the King of Hyrule was in that list, and potentially and likely some Castle Town inhabitants. Another potential would be Lord Jabu Jabu, because if the curse on the Great Deku Tree was fatal, it would be plausible that Lord Jabu Jabu's curse would also be fatal. the Composer Brothers in Kakariko Village, and lastly, the sages, except Rauru. We know that Ganondorf enters the Sacred Realm for the Triforce, and the other sages are missing, except Rauru. So it could be presumed that the other sages existed but were eliminated, thus leaving space for the subsequent sages to take their place as the Adult Link timeline continues. That brings us to pillar number 2, which is the evil of absolute tyranny during his 7-year reign. With the door to the Sacred Realm unlocked, Ganondorf seizes his chance, and this phase of evil shows his establishment of a monstrous, systematic tyranny that devastates the land of Hyrule. And this is a universal corruption of the land. Rauru confirms Ganondorf's evil power radiated from the temples of Hyrule, and in just 7 short years, it transformed Hyrule into a world of monsters. This is because, according to the lore within the game, that whoever obtains this power, if they were to have an evil heart, these kinds of things occur. With the Great Deku Tree gone from 7 years ago, monsters roam throughout Kokiri Forest, and even the Skull Kids turn evil. Back at Goron City, where systematic starvation was unsuccessful, Ganondorf takes matter into his own hands and orders his men to capture the Gorons, take them into the Fire Temple, and prepare to feed them to the resurrected dragon within the Fire Temple, Volvagia. So instead of stopping them from eating, he decides, I'm going to feed you to someone else. And when we visit the Zora again, 7 years later, the civilization has been frozen. And as confirmed by King Zora, Ganondorf used his curse to completely freeze Zora's domain and everyone within. And if you know anything about the land of Hyrule, you know that there's one area that's been left out of this, and that's the people within Gerudo. It would make sense that Ganondorf would either leave alone the area from which he came as the King of Thieves, or it is already in a state of evil due to his surrogate mothers, Kotake and Kume. And through all of this, by the time that Link reaches the Temple of Time and reconnects with Zelda, Ganondorf immediately puts Zelda in a magical crystal, taunting Link to come and get Zelda to try and save her, holding royalty hostage. And so that's pillar number 2, the evil of absolute tyranny. And lastly, we come to pillar number 3, the evil of eternal malice. And so even when facing defeat, Ganondorf's final acts and words demonstrate a malice that is unrepentant, arrogant, and eternal. And upon his defeat, he makes a vow of vengeance against pretty much everyone, saying his commitment to evil is absolute and forever. Because even as the sages work together to seal him away, his final curse is a promise to attack Link's bloodline, saying, "Curse you, Zelda. Curse you, sages. Curse you, Link. Someday, when this seal is broken, that is when I will exterminate your descendants." His malice even transcends the grave, cementing him as an eternal villain. So in this sense, how do you define evil in these kinds of acts that were committed against the people of Hyrule? Well, how about comparing them to the US Court of Law? So a treason or coup attempt plotting to overthrow the kingdom while pledging allegiance is known as treason or sedition, and the maximum penalty for that in the US is death or life imprisonment. All of this is according to AI, so cite your sources. A mass killing and homicide against the Deku Tree, sentencing Gorons to death, maybe even Jabu Jabu, the Hyrule Guard in the alleyway, and potentially many others. So mass murder or first degree murder is death or life imprisonment, maximum penalty. Bioterrorism, or the use of weapons of mass destruction, where Ganondorf was cursing a life-giving deity and causing widespread disease. These things can lead to life imprisonment. Kidnapping, hostage taking. He was imprisoning royalty, Princess Zelda, imprisoning Gorons, taking citizens and imprisoning them, also deserving of life imprisonment for Ganondorf. Extortion or coercion, blocking trade routes to gain political leverage. This is the extortionate credit transactions, interference with commerce by threats or violence, up to 20 years per count. This is due to Darunia stating that Ganondorf wanted the ruby, and so it would only open the cave if he gave it to him. And lastly, the destruction of public property. Ganondorf destroyed the castle, public buildings, land, so the destruction of government property is up to 10 years per count. So all of Ganondorf's evil within the land over those 7 years deserves many lifetime imprisonments and is ultimately the sentence that he receives in Ocarina of Time. And so if we sum all of it together, Ganondorf's evil trajectory in Ocarina of Time is not merely just ambition. While that is what fuels his drive, he moves from calculated treason to systematic torture to even eternal malice. And he was not a simple villain. He was a master criminal, the king of thieves, whose rise destroyed the world to satisfy his own selfish lust for power. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. More support, maybe holes in my arguments, let me know in the comments below and give the video a like. This whole video came up from an idea of maybe we've misunderstood Ganondorf. You know, a lot of people are claiming he's done a lot of things. And so I was trying to take that approach originally, but it's pretty clear that he commits a lot of atrocious acts.